welcome to the Dual Horizon podcast, where spirituality meets technology. Today, we're thrilled to have Ken Newbill with us. He's a renowned holistic health coach and a functional nutrition practitioner, specializing in combating chronic fatigue. Ken harmonizes body, mind, and spirit with cutting-edge wellness strategies. His unique approach empowers individuals, especially mothers, to reclaim their vitality, embrace a vibrant life. Join us as we explore the nexus of healing and innovation with Ken. And with no further ado, hello, Ken. Welcome to the Dual Horizons podcast.
Hi, Wolf. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me, brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of what you do?
Well, what I do, man, I do a lot. But really what I do at the end of the day is I help guide people back to their most resilient self. Many people have lost that along the way that I work with and have been pouring their life and soul into other places, and there's been no return of that energy back. And because of that fact, they lead themselves into a very deprecated state, that misery, pain, depression, anxiety, and disease and disorder. And it opens them up for quite a lot of toxicity issues, emotional issues that have to be gently worked out over time. And so I help them bridge the gap between biochemistry, bioorganisms, and real life, because there's going to be some change in behavior that has to happen as well. And so we work on behavior change and lifestyle adaptation. The lab work is fine. We do those types of things as well. But literally, it's taking the whole holistic approach to helping someone serve themselves in the highest capacity and to truly shift out of the state that they're in that brought them to the detriment that they're living through.
Right.
So my job is to help them see it, become honest about it, because most chronically fatigued people lie to themselves every day, and they have been for years, because these are typically high-performing people. And most people still think they're high-performing, but they're the only ones that kind of know they're not. And at some point, their cape, the superhero cape, starts to become tattered, and their fight pattern becomes diminished, and their strength start leaking a little bit. And this makes them even more depressed and anxious, because they can see the chips in their armor. They know they're not who they once were. And they're afraid that people are going to start noticing that.
And then that's, so to speak, a downward spiral, right? From that perspective.
Yes. And so oftentimes when I begin working with someone, it's because they experience some of this downward spiral already. And maybe their relationships are starting to wane, whether it be professionally or personally. They're just don't have it in the tank to keep standing up and faking it anymore. And they're ready to find a way out.
Yeah, very good. And we're not talking here about, hey, this is just another diet, another quick fix, just another couple of pills to take. This is holistic, meaning like a whole lifestyle approach, nutrition from basically all aspects, really analyzing where the person is, and then identifying what are some of the issues that have caused the downward spiral, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this takes a lot of time. Typically and there's different phases of fatigue. And so I find people who have adrenal fatigue, then I also find people who are chronically fatigued. And chronically fatigued is very different. These are the kind of people that could literally sleep all day and it wouldn't matter. Like, they're still wake up and they start their day and they would be still exhausted. Or they would go work out, but they couldn't recover from that workout for like 3 days. And someone was like, yo, what's going on with you? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you need to take some more pre-workout, right? Or you need more caffeine. And this is just going to drag them further down the rabbit hole of chronic fatigue. It's not going to help. It's going to harm them. And so they become very confused, because it is confusing when you've used to being a high performing and having an abundance amount of energy. And all of a sudden, you just can't show up and do all the things in life. These are people that have built multiple businesses. They run large teams of people. They're participating in their community in a leadership disposition as well. Like, they're that person that everyone's calling on, because they know that they are driven. They know that they have this heart and this love to serve. And over time, all that taking and all that ambitious pushing lands them into a place of strong imbalance because there's so much happening from the central nervous system that's been heightened for so long that it's starting to harm the autonomic nervous system, which is the one that does all the things in the body that we don't think about, right?
Right.
And so this causes lots of nutrient imbalances, and through those imbalances, enzyme function starts to deteriorate. And once you start deteriorating enzyme function, you've deteriorated the processes of the human body. And
Mm.
so now you're in a big deficit, a big hole. Now things like methylation aren't working anymore. Digestion is absolutely horrible. So you're not assimilating nutrients. And now that you're not assimilating nutrients, you become a hotbed for heavy metal absorption because you don't have the nutrients in your body.
Mm.
So the body will start soaking up other elements that are close enough to keep it supporting itself, and those happen to be toxic to us. So all of these people have to go through quite a long time of various phases of working on every system of their body for the most part.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
they have to take a long walk is what I call it. We got to take a long walk because you have been sprinting for 15, 20, 30 years or longer, and you can't run anymore. Now you have to
Yes.
walk.
And when we spoke, I mean, the topic of chronic fatigue obviously was made aware to a lot of people during COVID, right? So the chronic fatigue was, so to speak, on the forefront of everybody. But obviously, what we're talking about here is that's just not like COVID. I mean, this is really caused by nutrition imbalance, by just improper lifestyle, as you just said, literally for decades potentially. And so it really requires a lifestyle change,
Mm-hmm.
a mindset change, something that you can help them guide through that process. Now, let's talk to a little bit about COVID, because I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
there are just huge numbers of people out there who did get COVID, who maybe still have some past, chronic fatigue symptoms based on that. Give us a little bit of your perspective, just specifically on for those people.
Yeah, COVID, I'll just say the most direct thing that's out these days is quote unquote long COVID. And
Wow.
long COVID is nothing but chronic fatigue syndrome. That's it. It's the exact same thing. And what happened was you were exposed to something that took you over the edge. I call it the tipping point. So with every client, I help them identify through their health history what was the
Mhm.
tipping point when things started making a major dive. And there's always typically some type of traumatic event that they could not recover from. They noticed from this point on, they could never lose the weight again. They could never get the sleep light again. They started having bowel problems. They started having constipation. Oh my God, the headaches started coming on. I developed migraines. I'm inflamed. I'm starting to have edema in the body at the lower extremities. And so this is
Mhm.
common with long COVID. These are all the same quote unquote symptoms of this made up disease, because long COVID is not a disease. It is the same thing that chronic fatigue syndrome is, which is systematic breakdown through multiple systems in the body. And this is why you can't get a pill for chronic fatigue syndrome. Your doctor can't help you fix chronic fatigue syndrome. You have to work with a specialist for quite a long period of time, and they have to be able to investigate all the avenues in the human body to help correlate where are all of the irregularities and to start delivering something I call foundational wellness strategies.
Mhm.
Because this is how you have to rebuild the human body. Everyone else in this industry likes to, what I call, throw darts at problems, and I don't throw darts. When you
Yeah.
work with me, we're going to work on all the foundational elements that support proper, optimal human existence. And because we do that, we don't leave any stone unturned, and I get very dramatic results for my clients so that they can get back to even better than they were, that they can remember. And that's what it
That it
all
can
about.
remember. I was just saying, because sometimes when we're talking 20, 30 years, you don't remember. Like, wow, I
Right.
remember as a teenager or in my 20s, like, hey, I was able to climb 10 flights of stair without even taking a breath. And now I can even like walk straight, So, um, you know, so interesting. Yeah. And, I mean, for you or not, for both of us, right? Sometimes it's so common sense, yet we understand there are people out there that even from a nutrition perspective, they don't even think what they put in their body. I always like to make that example. Most guys, let's put it this way, really watch the kind of gasoline or oil or whatever they put in their car. And it's like, to me, it's mind-boggling that there's so many people out there, they don't even consider what they're putting in their system. On that's like a high-functioning, beautiful designed machine, and it's being mistreated for decades and decades. I actually sometimes surprised. It's like, wow, I'm surprised people live or stay healthy or functional as long as they do with the crap they're putting in their system.
That's why we have a very well-designed body. It takes so much abuse for so long. And it's not just what we put in our mouth, it's what we allow in our mind. It's what we allow in our heart, right? Because all of these things are affecting the same areas of the body at the cellular level, whether we want to believe that or not, it's actually happening. And so when I'm running certain labs, it's one of the things that I like to explain to my clients is the most important part about you healing yourself is changing how you're choosing to respond to the world. And how you're choosing to listen to these thoughts in your mind, and how you want to start controlling these thoughts in your mind, and paying attention to the past traumas that you've unresolved, right? Is that little boy or that little girl that's still within you still have unresolved issues that need to be addressed, and they're just hanging out in your cells and your liver and your spleen, because all things in this world are physical. Thoughts are material. We don't know the difference between a movie action scene that's all violent and then actually standing in a war. It's the same thing to the human existence. So we also have this incredible ability to replay traumatic things over and over and over and over again in our minds to our own detriment. And our body believes that we're in that state again. Our heart starts racing. If we were scared and afraid back then, we start sweating and palpitating and all the things. So most people are literally doing what I call leaking nutrients all over the floor every day.
Yeah.
Because they choose to fester in thought. Right.
And I want to talk to that part because the key word comes to my mind, which is stress. Because people put unnecessary stress on their system by, as you just mentioned, being in that negative mindset, festering these old, feelings of like, maybe not being good enough or being traumatized. And that obviously starts with stress, with this kind of thing, which raises cortisol. And then that cycle starts. Let's talk to that a little bit, because I think chronic fatigue, sometimes the stress comes in, right? It's one of those many things, but let's talk about that part, how that can start or facilitate that process of chronic fatigue.
Yeah, the whole thing about stress, and I know we hear a lot about people saying, oh, you have to manage your stress. And I think that is actually not a good way to look at it, because stress is living. Living is stressful. The world is going to do what the world is going to do. Prices are going to change. Inflation is going to happen. Government's going to do what they're going to do. Companies are going to do what they're going to do. And you don't really have anything to do with that. You just have to figure out how you're going to respond to it. And then a lot of times people are caught up in the misconception of time because they haven't recognized that they only have now, that the past they can never fix, and the future is no longer here, is not here. Then they don't know they haven't found a way to simplify their existence. And so what most people are dealing with is over complexity of thought, and it's overclocking the thought in the mind and taking on responsibilities for things that have happened in the past you can't fix, and projecting what you think should happen in the future, and you're fearing that as well. We're creating all of this ourselves, which means we can also create calm and peace, but it's a choice. You have to train to do
rather
this.
than handicapping the current state of mind, living in the presence and putting brakes on that, rather than finding solutions to overcome things and live fully aware and consciously right now.
It's the most important thing. The time is now. It's like, that's almost how I start every speaking engagement that I have, because
Mm.
I want people present, because it's the only thing that matters. You chose to be in that moment. You chose to be in that job. You chose to have that child and be in that moment with your child. So why aren't you making the best time of it? Because we often say that tomorrow's not promised, but neither is this moment, and neither is this moment. And we can go on and on with that. So
Right.
this is the biggest reason that we should be striving to be our best and to be in this best state of mind, because this is the best time we have. And this gives us a great excuse to not live with angst, to not live with anxiety and fear, because that's only taking you down. That's only killing you. When you could actually be restoring life and vitality into yourself with positive thought, no matter how bad the situation is. I've been in a lot of situations in my life as a special operations guy in the military for a very long time, where if I didn't have positive thought, I would have been dead.
Mm.
Because it's all about projection. What you project, you get. So if you're constantly projecting negativity into the world, that's what's going to come back, and that's just law. And you can't break the law. It is going to be what it's going to be. And so
Mm.
you can't expect anything better from worse. You can only expect better from better. And so
Exactly.
it's like having to relearn these things. And some people never learn these things. I often find with my clients, they've just never gone down that road. They've never had that kind of support in their life. And it's okay, because they're still here to learn. There's a reason you're still here.
Yeah, and exactly. I want to add to that, or just basically say exactly right, because it doesn't mean that if you're 40, 50, or 70 years old and you have a problem, your body is resilient, is such a
Yes.
beautiful, amazing, God-given system that we can recover even in old age, let's put it this way. And it's never too late, even from a mindset perspective. So I encourage everybody that's struggling, that's thinking, take these thoughts and take these words to heart, because, today's the day to make the decision. And even if it means that it finally can put you on the right path. So with that said, let's talk about a little bit, what programs are you offering? Is it one-on-one? Is it groups? Is it online? Let's talk about
Yeah,
that a little bit, which kind of leads me into the whole tech part a little bit.
sure. Yeah,
How you
sure.
how you're
Absolutely.
communicating.
Mm.
I focus mainly on two programs. And so one is called my Foundational Systems Program, which is literally a full body rebuild system that has 5 phases of development in it. And so these phases tend to work in about 4-month time frames.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a group environment. We have a beautiful community where I coach twice a week in that group. And one session is called Life Works, and the other session is called Wellness Works. And in Life Works, we're talking about real life strategy, implementation, mindset, habit formation, self-love, positivity,
Great.
gratitude, all of the things that really matter to make a wellness lifestyle stick. Because if you haven't found your purpose, and this is what LifeWorks focuses on as well, is, are you in your purpose? Because this might be part of why you're miserable and sick in the first place, is you're not living or walking in your purpose. If you don't have anything to anchor what you're doing to, then you're likely not going to hold to it. And that's just being human, because we look for comfort first. Last night I did a whole talk on discipline with another coach that I work with in our local community here in Charlotte. And it like blew people away, because they just never realized how undisciplined they really were and what
Mm-hmm.
discipline actually means, right? Because some people think discipline's a bad word. Oh, I've been disciplined by my father. No, 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 no. That's called chastising. Okay.
Right.
Discipline it's one of the greatest acts of self-love that we can instill in
Exactly. I
ourselves.
was just saying, for me, it's self-love. It's
Yes.
about, no, I respect myself. I love myself. So not being disciplined is a disservice to this gift that I've been given, to this human experience.
Oh man, that's so the truth. So we take people
Mm.
literally from the ground up, and we're doing nutritional factoring, we're doing detox, cleansing, regenerational type of therapies. all along each phase, and we work from system to system to system. And the most beautiful part about it is a lifelong program. Once you are in for life. Because I
Mm.
figured this out about 2.5 years ago, and I said, I see people coming back to me that were working with me, and we did really good for 6 months at one point, and then they were done with their program, and they went on with life. But then life happened, and I had to get real. Being a former morbidly obese person myself, 13, 14 years ago is when I had a heart attack at the age of 38, and I had all the metabolic syndrome problems you can imagine, all the
Oh,
detox problems, all of the bowel problems, migraine headaches I had since I was 8 years old. And so I had a lot of issues, blood sugar, cholesterol, you name it. So I did not get to where I'm at overnight. And I had to acknowledge that people really need a support system. It was something I didn't have. And I said, what people really need is a safe place that they can take their time. Because when people talk about wellness transformation, I challenge that, because you can have a great year. Okay. And so that first year that I had, I dropped over 100 pounds within 6 months, just under 6 months, because I was trying to make sure I did not want my son to see me in the state I was in. So when I had my heart attack, we had just found out we were pregnant with our first child that same day. So
wow.
it was like a calling, and my purpose had nothing to do with me. The heart attack was not what motivated me. It was the fact that I had a son coming that motivated me, because I was embarrassed and I didn't want him to see me that way. Right.
Right.
And I wanted to be a strong father for him. So he became my motivation to do this lifestyle, to fix myself, to figure it out, because I really didn't know how. I had all these hormone issues and my thyroid was messed up. So I really had to go do a lot of study. I had to go figure it out. I didn't know where to look. The internet just wasn't what it is now. There weren't all these resources. I think when I went on my fitness pal back then, it was still in beta mode. So we
Right.
just didn't have the tool sets. And so if you didn't know anyone or really know where to look for to get help, you weren't going to get help.
And then obviously also there's so much misinformation out there. That's the problem, because everybody wants that quick fix. Oh, let me drop 30 pounds, 40 pounds. Yes, you do feel better, but it's
Mm-hmm.
that yo-yo effect. It's your body that
Yeah.
says, hey, I'm comfortable the way it was before. It's a little bit too harsh, because the self-love, the whole life wellness concept really didn't sink in yet, or that you weren't prepared for it. So you're clutching on to the difficult task of just like, I don't want to eat those cookies at night. Okay, I can hold through it. You're doing good for a while, but there is so much more to it. And that's
Yes.
really what you're saying, is that, you really need a support system. And that's really beautiful, because for me, these things came natural, right? For me, it's like I'm doing working out for 40 years. Going to
Mm-hmm.
gym is something automatic. That's kind of like getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. Is kind of like, am I going to the gym this week? Yeah, of course. Maybe I'll skip a couple of days, but it becomes natural. But so having that support system, what you're saying, in order to achieve a result and maintain the result, is so important. So that's great that you offer
Well,
that.
because if you really think about it, everyone's already in a community. It's a community of mediocrity. That's the population that everyone is in. You look at the TV, it's mediocre. Everyone is fat on television now. And we just allow our standards to get lower and lower, and that's what's projected upon us. So they're already in that community, and that's what's fed to them literally 24 hours a day. So when you're
Mm.
trying to step outside of that paradigm and truly shift your internal dynamics in the midst of all of that, this is one of the most challenging things you're ever going to do in your entire life, because you're going completely against the grain.
And it's also going against your friendship circle, your family circle, by then
Yes.
suddenly saying, hey, you know what? I actually enjoy eating the salad, rather than now we're being ridiculed. Oh, what you're doing? Come on, have some French fries, or have some cake here. Whatever. What are you
Yeah.
doing? This is ridiculous. Blah blah, blah. You're already skinny. I hear it all the time to people, like, like I lost a couple of pounds. Like, you're skinny. Like, you're not skinny. You don't know what skinny is. Skinny is like, really bones and skin in my perspective.
Yes.
But so there's still lots of ways where until you're at that point. So exactly. So I think to have that community that you're offering, that support system, that newfound family of people that accept you and understand your journey, I think that becomes really important, until, or even, as we said, that process needs to be continued to really cement that lifestyle and that change and then holistic living,
Well, I think it's so important because the journey is not linear. It's just not. It's going to be some good years. There's going to be some not some good years. And you're not going to just go straight up, to the top of the mountain. You're going to get to false hilltops and you're going to go, oh, I thought I was at the top of the mountain. Wait a minute. There's a lot more elevation here I need to move up to, but I'm tired and your body's tired and it needs to cool off and your systems need to recover and you need to just be there for a little while.
Mhm.
But you also need to be with some people that understand that, right? And that can encourage you. If you stay here, you're okay. Let yourself rest a little bit. It's not about this massive amounts of improvement. Like we focus a lot on Kaizen method in my practice, right? It's
Right.
about becoming continuously better every single day. Just a little bit better every single day. We don't sprint here. You've been sprinting. And you probably tried a million programs already where you jump in, you do all the things, and you fail miserably. You end up failing miserably, and then you retract back to the old versions of yourself because you never gave your chance to truly adapt. Your physical body has to adapt. Your mindset has to adapt. Your spirit has to adapt to this. You have to truly connect all the dots to win. Otherwise, you're going to end up back in the hole again. And I've seen it happen hundreds and hundreds of times. I saw it happen with myself. Most of my life, I was a fat, chunky kid. And I would try all these wazoo things once I got in my teens and my 20s. And it just didn't work for me because I hadn't figured it out yet. But once I started to figuring out the journey and documenting it and realizing there's a connection to this that, oh man, this isn't really my fault necessarily, but I'm the only one that can fix it. So getting to that realization that you can't blame mommy, you can't blame your genetics. You have to take responsibility for yourself and step into it and sit in the ugly a little bit. It's okay, right? Because it's not going to be ugly forever. It's going to be a part of something that you grow through. If you're going to blossom through the process. But you also have to be willing to accept your victories along the way because most people don't even recognize their victories. And that's one of the things that I do very well as a coach is showing them their wins. Like you didn't even know this was a win and this needs to be celebrated so that you can send the proper subconscious programming so that you want to continue to do it. And then it gets better and easier and it flows and you become a greater version of yourself each and every time you step into that. And that pain becomes less pain as you push the envelope a little more and you push it again and you develop to be stronger and more resilient and more disciplined and happier in the process, right? To the point where probably like you and me we'll get straight up defensive about anything that's trying to pull us away from the feeling of waking up every day feeling amazing, right? You descend that with purpose. So like, wait, hold on.
Absolutely.
No way.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in that.
For me, the interesting thing was alcohol. And, obviously I drank a little bit on and off. I never was a big drinker. I never was into it. But interestingly enough, because I kind of switched to not vegan, but no more conscious. I always say like I don't eat any conscious meat, right? So like I only do like a little bit of fish and that's it. But anyway, so since I kind of made that change and very specific, I'm actually when I kind of feel like I like the taste of a glass of wine and I take a sip and I'm literally like take a little sip. I'm like, I don't like this. I always feel it in my brain. Like it's just like, and it's literally poison. And then I did the research. Like, why am I even putting this in my system? It makes no sense to me, you know. And we're just living in this culture where it's so glorified and so standardized that it's like if you don't do that, you almost looked at like weird. And it's kind of like, and for me, I'm always a rebel, right? For me, it's easy to think like I always like to swim across against the stream. That's just me, but most people are not. So I understand that. But yeah, so to realize that, hey, you know what? And when you're at that point where you can stand your own ground and be proud of it, and you really live out of self-love, where you're saying, no, this is my body, this is my life, this is how I feel. that can also then start becoming magnetic to other people and saying, oh, wait a second, there's maybe something to it, what
There's,
you're doing.
yeah, they have to see what's possible. One of the things I charge my clients with, my one-on-one clients with, and I ask my group clients to do it as well, is when you get what you want, you have to be a beacon of hope for others. You have to stand in your light and not cower away in public. Be who you know you are in public, because people are trying to find a way to you. They're trying to find a way to themselves. They are afraid. They are in the midst of all of these people who are literally asleep, and they're trying to wake up, and you're awake, truly awake. And because of that, you're going to attract some people to you. So don't run from it. Stand there. Let them come to you. Tell them your journey. Because the more that we can do this for, the more people that can be healed, and the greater consciousness of the universe will increase. Our vibrational potential will rise, and there's more gifts for all of us in that way. And I
Right.
think that's just a big part of my mission overall, that I wake up so excited to help every single day. I take it on as a mission, is I'm here to help move the consciousness of the world. And I do that through each soul that I'm allowed to work with, that I'm gifted a chance to work with, to help them get to their greatest self. You know, the other way that I work with people outside of group is I work in a very, very customized and deep one-on-one experience. This is an experience that is extremely rich. It takes a lot of time. It is of extreme high value. And I put a lot of effort into correlating multiple disciplines of medicine into what I do. So I do I call it causative correlation.
Okay.
So I look at the individual on multiple levels with labs and interviews, personal assessments with them, to understand their mindset, to understand their symptoms, to understand their history, their goals, their personality traits. I really go deep with them. And then we do all the functional testing down to the DNA, cellular level, microbiome level, blood type, the whole nine. And leverage my experience in Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, functional medicine, holistic nutrition. And I'm looking for the correlation across the board, because there's all these various data points that are extremely valuable. And sometimes they conflict, but most times they don't. Most times we're going to see this very interesting stream of information pointing to similar facets that give us confirmation. And as you keep stacking confirmation, now you're able to build a wellness strategy based on that individual's potential, and then allow them, and I mean this with all honesty, allow them to help mold how this is executed. So my job is not just to go, here's the directive. My job is to bring you the intelligence that I've collected, explain that intelligence to you in a way that you can comprehend it, and that we can now say what's possible. What's step one for you,
Right.
right?
And
And it's
like,
no longer just a go do this document, right? It's a, where do we start? What really feels right to you? Because what
right.
feels right to you and your cells is what's going to be accepted at the greatest capacity. If there's any so-called therapy or tactic that we're trying to use to bring you into balance, and you are confused, you are afraid of it, or you do not understand it, it's not going to be very valuable to you. And you're likely not going to do it. So what's
Right.
the point?
And there's an aspect of openness, right? And truthfulness,
Absolutely.
because truthfulness and being honest to yourself are, I think, important aspects here.
Yeah, it's about removing the dogma around all things wellness related, and giving the individual their own opportunity to come to their own conclusions about themselves with professional guidance, and to help them see things they may not be able to see, to help them understand the advantages and disadvantages of certain aspects of the way you go about things, or that there's other options on the market that you could take a look at, and there's no judgment about it. This is
Hmm.
your ship. I'm a co-pilot on the ship. I've been invited, but you're still the pilot, and I'm never going to allow people to take themselves out of the pilot mode. Most people have been doing that their entire lives. They've been giving away their power to doctors and people on the internet and their government and their teachers and their professors. You are the master of your ship, and you have to take the reins. And until you do so, you're going to constantly be sick. It's going to
Right.
always bring you back down because you're depending on someone else to do the guidance for you, and you are the one that's in charge. And that's the most critical thing that I want to give back to every client that I work with is you have the power. You have always had the power. Now you have to step into your power and own it.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Lots of information. Tell people how they can reach you, your website, and what's the best way to get started.
Sure. My website is Newbill of Health, right? I mean, there's no other Newbill of Health in the world that I have seen so far on the internet.
Yeah, and I love the way you've done that with your last name, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful way of leading people down onto the right path. So newbillofhealth.com, and then obviously you're on social and
I'm
anything,
on social.
YouTube.
My strongest presence to date is on Facebook, on my personal page as Ken Newbill. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm not really on TikTok at all, really. And I will be
Yeah,
making
maybe no need to, because that thing might be off soon anyways here in the US.
I heard. So I'm glad my energy wasn't spent there. And
Yeah.
I'm actually looking to make a very strong presence in LinkedIn here within the next 30 days. My page is already up there. I started broadcasting some of my videos there to LinkedIn when I go do training. So I'm looking to start to actually move my following more to LinkedIn because I'm really looking for my clients tend to be A-type professional women.
Okay.
And that's what I've been working with as 90% of my client base now for just about 6 to 7 years.
Right.
And I have an amazing time working with these ladies and helping them rebuild what the system has taken from them through medical maltreatment for so many years. And it's a blessing to see them thrive again. I just have this thing in my heart about working with women, and that I've helped so many women like start making babies again and things of that nature, that they're one of the biggest ways and paths to heal the world because they are the nurturing energy of the planet. And so
That's right. They're the creators.
if our women are not creating, we are not doing well in life.
Right.
So the
Beautiful.
women are here to fuel the planet. That's their job. My job is to help them get there, to do that job.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much, Ken. Beautiful discussion here. So much information for people to hopefully get awareness, to open their hearts, and to reach out to you and connect with you. Thank you so much. Until the next time.
Thank you, Wolf. I appreciate you, brother, and everything you're doing.
Thank you.